and welcome back to my channel. So recently I just had a Sephora haul and I got a lot of beauty products that I really want to try on, so I'm getting on it one by one. On today's video I decided to try the Lawless Seal the Deal Talc Free Loose Setting Powder. So I got the shade Classic Translucent. It comes in two more shades. It has a peachy one and also a golden tone one. And I only got the mini size. So this is 32 Canadian dollars for 10 grams. It also comes in a bigger packaging, which is $48 for 24.58 grams. So it's a little bit pricey compared to some of the other loose setting powder. I grabbed this because it's really hard to find a talc-free powder, and I'm not sure if talc is really related to cancer, but also talc can be so heavy. That's why I'm always in a hunt for a talc-free powder. So I have a powder that is more lightweight and easier on the face, lighter on the face, and powders that I can also use with mature clients, because with mature clients, to set their face, you really need to be careful because it can't be heavy or else it would really accentuate the texture on their face. So with Lawless, it doesn't have any talc. They use mica instead of talc. I also picked this up because every time I search for what to buy in Sephora, I always find this product. I always see this being recommended because it makes your face look airbrushed. So here are the claims of this powder. It locks in your makeup while absorbing oil and shine throughout the day. It perfects every skin tone, imparting a flawless, airbrushed, and pore-less finish. And it has no harmful ingredients. So now let's go with the try-on. So for my skin type, I have oily combination skin. And I also have big pores on the side of my cheeks, which I hope that this powder would really blur out. And I'm also always in a hunt for powders that doesn't really accentuate the fine lines under my eyes. So I'm hoping that this powder would also really minimize that creasing under the eyes. So this is my full face with my foundation, cream bronzer. I also put a little cream blush. And as you notice, today I am a little heavy-handed on the products that I've used because I have a photo shoot later with my family. So it's a good time to test this powder. The reviews on Sephora's website is kind of divided. Some doesn't like this foundation and some does. And I got a good tip from one of the reviewers saying the best way to apply this powder is to use a damp sponge. So on my right side, I'm going to use a damp sponge, and on my left side, I'm going to use a powder puff. This is how the powder looks like. It dispenses so much. Hold on. I don't like powders like this that doesn't have a cap on top, because this is what you get. You get a lot of product when you open it. So I'm gonna use this damp sponge. I'm gonna start baking my under eyes with it. Oh, it's actually very light. With my Laura Mercier, when I start like baking like this, I can really see like a group of powder that like this. But with this is my second dip, and that's why it's like that. And then I'm gonna go light-handed on the rest of my face. It's such a very fine powder. It changes the shade of my foundation. It looks a little fairer with the powder on, but I'm still gonna remove the excess with a brush. And then I'm using my powder puff on my left side, that much. I'm gonna press it under my eyes. With my powder puff, I usually press them together, distribute the powder, and then put it on my face. So first impression, application was actually very easy. Currently, it gives me a little white cast. My foundation looks fairer than what it originally is before the powder. I'm gonna wait a little bit more before I brush off the excess powder. I just hope that it doesn't give me a white cast when I do a flash photography. But so far, it's very light on the face. It feels really smooth. And it did blur out the big pores on the side of my cheeks. So I'm gonna wait for about 5 minutes and I'll be back and brush this excess powder off. So I'm back and it's been 5 minutes. I'm gonna brush off the excess powder under my eyes. I'm also gonna brush off the excess powder on my face. Looking closely, I can see some creases on my right side where I use a sponge. I feel like my left side where I use the powder puff looks smoother. I just don't like that it looks powdery white on me. So I definitely need a bronzing powder on top of my face. So lately I've been loving this it's actually not a bronzer, it's a powder, and it's a perfecting translucent powder, and it's in the shade 6N. This bronzer is actually blending really well on top of this powder because it really gave me a very smooth base. I'm using the NARS Orgasm blush and it has a little glitter on it. And now that I have more color on my face, like my complexion looks so much better. So this is how it looks like with my bronzer and blush on top. Do I feel like my face looks more airbrush than when I use my usual powder like Laura Mercier or the Huda Beauty? I really think it's about the same when it comes to performance, but the only difference is that this powder really feels very light on the face and it's just very, very smoothing on the face. It did blur out the pores on the side of my cheeks a little bit, but I feel like it's also the same with my Huda Beauty or my Laura Mercier. So now let's see if this powder performs well on photography, because I kind of fear that this will give me a little white cast. When I applied this on initially, you can really see that there's like a white powdery cast on top of my face. It doesn't look very translucent. So we'll see how it is on flash and non-flash photography. So luckily when I was reviewing the photos, there were no flashbacks. My face looks very natural. I can see that it actually really smoothened the look of my face. So now we're going to do a wearability test. My blush is not on anymore, so I wanted to add more before my photo shoot later. But so far the powder is performing well. The side of my nose has a little buildup, but I don't know if it's because of the foundation or the powder. But so far there's no cakiness. It looks very light on the face. It just sets my base really well. So far it's still performing really well on my face. So I'm back and it has been 8 hours and I could say that my makeup still looks really good, except for some of the spots on the side of my cheeks. Some of them were wearing off, I think because I was wiping that side, and also some on my chin. Blush is still on, bronzer is still on, like my base is still really on, and I like how this powder really set my face without it being heavy. And I didn't even use a setting spray and it really sets my face. So when it comes to my oil, like the shine that you can see, that's my highlighter. I added that on the 4th hour because I needed to go to a photo shoot. But other than that, it really controlled my oil. It really set my base really, really well. Also, I didn't see any cakiness. I didn't see any powder setting into my pores. I was really doing a pretty good job on my skin. I'm going to give this Lawless loose setting powder a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think that it really delivered on all its claims. I think that the biggest selling point of this powder is it being very light. And since it's using mica and not talc, it really sets my foundation super evenly, and it didn't have any coarse powder feel to it. It really feels smooth on the face. And because it's very light, it didn't add any weight when I put it on top of my base. It's very, very lightweight. It didn't highlight any of my texture, and it definitely didn't disturb my base. So when I set it on top of my base, it really gave that smooth surface so that my powder bronzer and my powder blush could really blend on top. You know when you have a good primer and you put your eyeshadow on, it really shows the true color of the eyeshadow. This one, since it really prepped my base well, it really gave my bronzer and my blush that effect. It really highlighted the real color of my blush and the real color of my bronzer, because sometimes if I put my other setting powder, it kind of wash out the color of my bronzer or my blush. The blush really reflected well on top of this loose setting powder. Even with the highlighter, it really showed off the true color of the highlighter, and the highlighter that I've used really blended well on top of this powder. And even though I only added that highlighter after 4 hours, it still blended well on top. And it also really did control my oil. Usually on my T-zone I get really oily, but I'm already on the 8th hour. I can see a little shine on my forehead, but on the side of my cheeks I'm not even oily. I only have 2 cons for this loose setting powder. My first con is that it is on the pricier side. Yes, this is 48 and Laura Mercier is like 52, but this has less grams than the Laura Mercier. But it's very light and you don't need a lot, so I don't really mind it because with this powder you can use less. My second con is that it gave me a little bit of a white cast when I initially put it on. It looks like I have like a white powdery look when I put it on, so it actually changed the color of my foundation. So I have to make sure to put on a bronzer on the perimeter of my face. But as time goes on, I don't see that white cast anymore. And when I did a flash photography test, it also didn't create a white cast. So maybe also when using this, just make sure not to overdo it, because you might end up with a white cast if you really pile this on your face. So overall, I think that this is really a great powder. I know now why it's been raved by many. I think that it can be used for all skin types. I have oily combination skin, and on the dry parts of my face, it didn't really accentuate the texture on there, and on the oily parts of my face, it really helped in controlling the oil. And if you are looking for a silicone-free, talc-free, cruelty-free product that is very light on the face, I would highly recommend this powder. So that ends my review on this Lawless Seal the Deal Loose Setting Powder. I hope that you find this video helpful, and if you did, please don't forget to like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll always be updated once a new video is out. Thank you so much once again for watching. I'll see you in my next one.